Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we are talking about 5 things that you should know about fight night, but nobody will tell you. I have no idea why people are not bringing up these topics. They're things you should know. Coaches should be telling you. Sparring partners, guys who have fights that you train with should be telling you. But for some reason, it's very hush-hush. But that's okay, because I don't mind sharing with you the nitty-gritty details of this fight sport. So when I started my fight career, and I had my first bout, my second, my third, my fourth, and I started seeing patterns emerge, little things that were happening which I just went, the coach told me about this, he told me about this, we talked about this, but they're not addressing these other issues, and they are things that should have been mentioned. Are they only happening to me? Am I unique in this aspect that these are sort of pulling my performance down or are creating a bit of anxiety? But then I talked to my brother back when he was fighting and a couple other guys that I train with who were also competing, and we all had the same experiences and just had that same sort of like, oh, that's happening to you too? Well, it's happening to me. And since then, everybody I've talked to all has the same reaction. They're like, oh, yes, me too, but nobody mentioned it beforehand. So today I'm going to cover 5 things that you should know about fight night. Point number 1, expect to be running to the washroom a lot. And I thought this was only me at first. I would run to the washroom, have to empty the bladder because you've been trying to get that water back, all that fluid that you drained out the day before in that weight cut. But in addition, also emptying the bowels is something that nobody told me about. And legitimately, still to this day, I have to run to the toilet probably 3 to 4 times by the time I sort of start my warm-up to the time I finish my warm-up. So it's like my body's getting going again and it knows something intense is coming, and for some reason it's just trying to flush everything out. And I know this is kind of like, why is he talking about that? But it's something worth noting, something that you should be aware of, so that if it starts happening to you on fight night, you go, okay, it's normal, and I don't have to be worried and don't have to be embarrassed about having to go to the washroom 3 or 4 times in, we're talking a 2-hour period. And keep in mind that you are taking in so much food after you weigh in. Your body is probably just trying to get rid of a lot of it. It's trying to reabsorb all the nutrients and get rid of the waste, and it's just an overdrive, and it's absolutely okay to be making those trips to the toilet multiple times. The next thing I want to address is just before you start your warm-up, or maybe even on like the trip over to the venue, or even in the early stages of your warm-up, you may feel very sleepy. This happens to me, I'd say about 50% of my fights, and I really try to rest as much as I can leading up to heading to the venue. And if I get enough rest, then when I get there, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. But the other 50% of the time, if I don't wake up and then have breakfast and then go back to sleep and then have lunch and go back to sleep, if I don't get probably 3-4 hours of rest during fight day, then I'm feeling pretty sleepy. And again, it's just something natural. Your body is anxious, you have anxiety, and it's just the whole fight week. You got to go do photo shoots and then you get a little bit of a rest. Then you got to go and do maybe video shoots and you get a little rest. And then you got to cut weight and you get a rest. And it's just up, down, up, down, up, down. And it's okay to kind of just feel like, oh man, I have to start warming up. I feel like I could take a nap. Legitimately, when I walked out on the catwalk, let's call it, to fight Lerdsila, I still felt like I was ready to take a nap. I remember walking out and going, oh, shoot, I'm fighting in about 2 or 3 minutes here and I'm ready to take a nap. So if this happens to you, don't be concerned. Don't be thrown off by it. Don't let it get in your head too much. Once the bell rings, once the first few seconds, then I kind of engage. But before that, I do have a lot of times where I just feel a little drowsy, but again, it does not affect my performance, and I just want everybody to know that. Next up, I want to talk about when you start hitting those pads. And I've addressed this on the channel before, but there's lots of new subscribers here who probably haven't seen my old videos, so I'm going to touch on it again. I'm talking about pad work fatigue, like you've never experienced before. You might be in the best shape of your life. You might have been able to do 5 4-minute rounds with a 30-second break. That's what I do when I'm in training camp hard. Really hard pad work, and then all of a sudden you get to fight night, you start hitting the pads, you go for 90 seconds. You're like, oh my gosh, my arms are heavy, my legs are heavy, my heart is just pumping, and you feel fatigue like you've never felt before. That's the only way I can describe it. The first time it happened to me, I was so worried. I thought, oh my gosh, I am so out of shape. This is the worst pad session of my life. And then I went in and performed very well. The next fight, same thing. Next fight, same thing. Now I just know to expect it. I know my pad work is not going to be the best I've ever done, even though I'm in probably the best shape of the whole camp at that point. But again, anxiety, fatigue, getting your body warmed up, everything plays into that. And again, I just want everybody to understand that it's normal and to not be scared when it happens to you. Something that really psychologically could have thrown me off, and still to a certain extent could if I just wasn't prepared for it and I was, pretty strong-willed, is hearing your opponent warm up on pads right beside you. Now, this won't happen all the time because occasionally, especially as you get to a higher level, you get your own locker room and your opponent's way over at the other side of the stadium. But when you're starting off, there's a very good chance that your, opponent could just be right on the other side of a curtain or just down the hall. And as you're warming up, you hear somebody, screaming away, hitting pads, and you're going, holy smokes, this guy is getting ready to kill somebody. Oh no, wait, that's my opponent? Holy shoot. And it's easy to start going, oh, well, if he makes that much noise, then how hard is he hitting? And oh shoot, is he going to hit harder than me? And is he more intense than me in the ring? And just so many things can start to play out. Fortunately for me, it's never really happened that way. It's more being, oh, this guy's making a lot of noise. Okay, that doesn't really matter. The noise has nothing to do with actual skill level. But still, I could see a lot of people having issues. I have seen the eyes of people in the locker room with me, other people who are fighting, hear their opponent making a lot of noise and just see their eyes like, whoa, oh my gosh. And I've seen them break at that point. So just be aware that noise, or not even yelling, people hitting pads, cracking the pad, you hear somebody like bang, 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 and you're going, shoot, that guy sounds like he hits hard. Sometimes acoustics play, sometimes people have pads that just have that nice curve and really give a good smack. There's lots of things that happen, but if you're aware of that, aware of the potential to hear your opponent hitting pads, making lots of noise, yelling lots, then when it happens, you won't be thrown off and you can deal with it that much better. And the final thing I wish somebody would have told me very early on in my career, but nobody really did, is about post-fight. Now, I am not somebody who likes parties. I've never really enjoyed parties, so I was kind of safe from this situation. But most people, they fight and then they go off to a party. And nobody tells them, dude, you just put your body through an enormous amount of stress. You might have got hit to the head a few times. You definitely shouldn't be drinking, and you should be going home focusing on rest and recovery. Now, my big excursions after fights have always just been getting together with my buddies and maybe going, especially when we were fighting locally, maybe going out for a late night Chinese food or something like that. But even now, I don't think I do that because that's not the food my body needs post-fight. It's not the healthy, clean food that's going to help me recover super fast and get me back into the gym or the next training camp in prime shape. And that's just me talking about what food I'm putting in. That's not me talking about the potential of staying up to 3, 4 a.m. and taking all sorts of substances, which are just terrible for you, especially if you had any form of concussion, not just serious, but also mild. This is my advice to you. It wasn't given to me, even though I kind of did it myself. Take the time after the fight to rest and recover. If you're at a hotel, head back to your hotel room, take a bath, maybe hang out with your significant other who came with you, enjoy the night, but don't party too much because down the road, I think it's just going to add to the stress on your body and it will play into how healthy you are. So right there are my 5 tips for fight night, which nobody seems to tell you. If you have a fantastic coach and they've listed all this out for you, bravo to them. Because I have been around many coaches, I've been around many students, I've talked to many people, and this just seems like things that are not brought up, which really should be. But that's all about what I'm wanting to do here on the channel. I'm wanting to talk about those maybe taboo subjects that people don't want to address, or the ones that, aren't really taboo, but just sort of get missed, like a lot of them today. These are the subjects that I want you guys to get from this channel because nobody else is giving them to you. And for that reason, that's why I always ask, if you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you have not already, join the channel, get subscribed for lots more content like this. And coming up, I'm going to be doing a lot of training videos so you can follow along. In particular, bag work follow along training videos. Look out for those. They will be coming very soon. Guys, as always, train hard, and I will see you back here soon for another video.